Viktor Orban's meeting with President Vladimir Putin, the doppelganger in Moscow, has sparked significant controversy in the EU and with NATO allies. Orban, whose country recently assumed the rotating EU presidency, it's extraordinary, made the unannounced trip just days after visiting Kyiv. And the visit was seen as a breach of diplomatic protocol, undermining the unity of the European Union and of NATO. And during the 3-hour meeting between Orban and Putin himself, Orban acknowledged the significant differences between Ukraine and Russia's positions. Putin reiterated demands that include Ukraine surrendering the 4 eastern provinces, even those areas of the provinces that Russia hasn't actually overrun and invaded yet, and Ukraine pledging not to join NATO. These terms have been rejected by Ukraine as capitulation to Russia's extraordinary aggression. Russia invaded Ukraine. Russia cannot be rewarded for that process. And it's not part of the Minsk agreement. It's not part of basic diplomacy. And Orban stated that Hungary, being in contact with both sides, would continue to work towards ending the conflict during the EU presidency. That's not Hungary's job. Hungary's job is not to negotiate for President Zelensky. Hungary can, on the other hand, negotiate about the sanctions. And EU leaders and NATO's leaders have emphasized today that Orban doesn't represent them. The German Chancellor Olaf Scholz said and NATO Secretary General Stoltenberg have clarified that Orban's actions were solely on behalf of Orban. It was a private visit or a visit from the Hungarian leader. It was not a visit on behalf of the EU or of NATO. And despite Hungary informing NATO of the trip, the EU was not informed, leading to further criticism. The visit is part of Viktor Orban's pro-Russian stance, which has included delaying EU sanctions on Moscow and opposing aid to Kyiv. And analysts predict that Hungary's EU presidency will bring disruption and instability. And Orban has demonstrated at the beginning of his presidency that this is something to expect. His illegitimate positioning to mediate in the war in Ukraine. Anyone who mediates is doing a positive thing, I suppose. But this form of sort of smug self-promotion is not really mediation. It's indulgence, and it is stupidity. He will be used by the Russian leadership to promote their own agendum, which is oppressive and evil.